So, handle gluing trick. The handles are all cut and ready to glue on. I've got the pinholes already drilled, and I need to figure out how I'm going to avoid epoxy squeeze out in places I don't want it. One trick is to coat everything in wax, which I did do on the blade, and then I also went over it with a couple layers of blue painter's tape, because everything is made more tactical with blue painter's tape. So that's going to prevent my front scales from having too much squeeze out, and I'll be able to easily pick it off with a Kydex pick or a pounded down brass rod that I can scrape without deforming the steel or scratching the surface of the steel finish. You'll notice I have done the same on the handle. So in most cases I don't do that, but in this case that handle does have an engraving on it that I wanted to protect from having epoxy squeeze into, because it would be a huge pain in the butt to get the epoxy picked out of all those little tiny recesses that I've carved in there. So I took some blue painter's tape, covered over the entire face of it, poked holes from behind with a pointed brass rod of the same diameter as the pin stock, and then glued everything up, ran the pins through, tapped it all together, and clamped it up to dry. I do have some squeeze out on the top, which frankly I don't really care about, because that squeeze out is going to get full polished after, and I'm going to remove that by picking and scraping, and then go over the entire perimeter with a couple 100 grit belt, and then do some hand satin finishing to shine it up and make it look all pretty and seamless, and then buff it. So I don't worry about the squeeze out on the outside. I just want to avoid the squeeze out in places where it's very inconvenient to get at. So for knife makers, when gluing your handle, use wax, that'll help the epoxy peel up. Use blue painter's tape, that gives you a little bit of something to grab onto, and if your edge is sharp, it also prevents you from getting cut. It doesn't really help you from getting point poked, but you can cover that with something and wrap it also. But little shop tip for the night.